Hello, this guy in the picture behind me, in the ties and suits, that's me 2.5 years ago, working in a large consulting firm in London. This guy had no idea that he would be coming on TEDx stage in 2.5 years' time. But here I am today, delivering my speech to you as a co-founder of a fintech startup company. We are one of the successful fintech startup companies in Southeast Asia, expanding in the region, and our latest valuation is over $30 million, and probably we are the only startup firm with a listed subsidiary in our group. So today I would like to share my story on how this guy come to this stage in 2.5 years and the big lesson I learned so far. So let's go back to 2015. In 2015, I was working in London in a large multinational consulting firm. Life was certain, everything was beautiful. I was earning a decent salary. As you might know, everything is planned and organized in these large corporations, and I exactly know what I would be doing in a month time or in a 6-month time. I was certain that if I tried a little bit harder, I could have become a partner in that firm and probably earning a salary in 6 or 7-digit numbers, and probably this position that most of the people would want to be. But I always had this feeling that something is missing, something is not so right, but I really couldn't figure out what it was. And during that time, one of my childhood friends, or my current co-founder, called me and said, "Boldo, we need to do something new." And I was asking him, what is it? But he was not certain what it is, but he was certain that it has to be tech-based. Then I told him that, okay, if it is tech-based, then it has to be finance-related, because I have finance background. So at that time, it was certain that we would be starting a company in a fintech space. But as we continue our discussion, there were more questions like, what are we going to do next? How are we going to do it? What we exactly would be doing? And whether we would be able to raise our funding? And how are we going to form the team? So as we had all these questions with no clear answer, I suddenly realized that this is what was missing in my life as a corporate guy. It was the uncertainty. When I was trying to answer all these questions, I was constantly thinking, trying to find an answer, but that's something that we don't usually do in a corporate world. So once I hang up the phone, I immediately made my decision. I choose the uncertainty in a startup company over the certainty in a corporate environment. So the next day, I gave my resignation letter, I packed my bag, and I fly to Mongolia. And on my first day in Mongolia, we registered our company, and starting from the second day, reality started to hit me. The uncertainty that I choose was actually very stressful. Every day, I need to answer all those uncertain questions, all those questions which I didn't have answer. So for the next 1.5 years, we went through all this uncertainty. And as a guy who comes from this corporate world where everything is certain, I was struggling. And whenever I had a time, I usually sit down and start to write our business plan. And what I was really trying to do is try to make this uncertainty a little bit clear. But every time, I was not successful. I was able to write first half of the page where we say where we want to be, but I always fail in the second part on how we're going to do it. Then I started to think that uncertainty is a bit scary. But throughout this 1.5 year, we managed to survive this through this uncertainty, finding answer to all this uncertainty or unanswered questions, trying to find solutions. Then exactly a year ago, May 2017, after our first product launch, I was sitting in a coffee shop, drinking my coffee, and again, trying to write our business plan for next 6 months or a year. Then I started to reflecting on how we come to that stage in 1.5 years. Then I suddenly realized that the only reason we managed to do whatever we have done in that 1.5 years was possible only because we didn't have a clear business plan. The uncertainty that we were going through it actually pushed my team to be more innovative, to find the best solutions throughout this uncertainty. Then at that moment, I realized that uncertainty is not scary. It's actually a good thing. It pushes you to be more innovative, to find the solution on this uncertain environment. And during those days, I was reading a newspaper article from a successful businessman who said he does plan his days even down to a minute. And he said he already planned for his next 6 months. And there was one sentence that struck my mind. He said he has 30 minutes in his calendar for every day where he thinks about the new ideas, where he reconsiders his plans. And at the moment, I was thinking how productive or how effective it is if he's only thinking about 30 minutes a day, but the rest of the day he's just following the predefined plan that he has developed. And at the moment, I realized that actually, if you develop your business plan in a very narrative, definitive way, you're just avoiding this opportunity to be more innovative. So from that moment onward, I decided that uncertainty is a good thing. Instead of trying to avoid it, we should be creating it in our startup company, which will push us to be more innovative, which will push us to be coming up with a more new way or new solutions. Starting that moment, we start thinking that actually the uncertainty is an opportunity. It makes you find the best solutions. When I say uncertainty, it does not mean that we don't know where we want to be. We exactly know where we want to be in 6 months or in a year time. The uncertainty is only in how we're going to do it. So I can give you an example on deliberately introducing of uncertainty in our own startup company. Exactly 7 months ago, I was discussing with my co-founder on what is our next action for our Mongolian subsidiary. And there's an idea that we might do an IPO in Mongolia. And my friend looked at me and said, yeah, why not? Then at that moment, we said, yeah, let's do an IPO in Mongolia. Then the next day, we had all these world-class consultants come into our meeting room and explaining us how this IPO is usually done, like that there are 5, 6 certain steps, and it can be done in a year time. Then I told those consultants, say, stop. You guys want to do the IPO in the usual way, in the way you guys know how it should be. But you are now in a startup company where things are done in a new way. So I immediately told the consultants that we need to do this, all the IPO preparation, not in 12 months, but in 2 months' time. They were all shocked. But as we continued discussing, I started to see them coming up with different ideas like, maybe these two steps, we can do it together. Maybe step 3 and 4, we can combine it. So for next 2 months, we were working really hard day and night. And at the end, the deadline day, we were ready for submission of all of the IPO materials. We just missed one thing. On the day before the deadline, we realized that we were actually missing the signature from the partner of one of the large consulting firm. So on that night, I just picked up my phone and called the partner and asked him to fly to Mongolia. And surprisingly, he did accepted it. So in his personal jet, he flew to Mongolia just for 2 hours to sign the report. And we literally had the report signed in the airport. And on 8 December 2017, we were ready for the IPO in less than 2 months, or to be exact, just in 45 days, we had all the IPO documents ready and we were submitting to the regulator. And the only way we were able to do it in this short period of time was that we introduced this uncertainty or this innovative ways on how to prepare for an IPO. And after that, here I am on 21st February 2018. I was standing on the Mongolian Stock Exchange floor, and I was ringing the bell for my company, and my subsidiary company is already listed. And we were only able to do it in this short period of time because we were exactly certain or exactly sure on where we want to be, but we were not certain on how we're gonna do it. So the big lesson I learned in this startup environment is that it's okay to be uncertain. Actually, the uncertainty on how you're going to accomplish your task is actually good. It actually creates the opportunity to be innovative. So for my own startup company, in the future, we exactly know where we're going to be in the next 6 months or in a year time. But if we are not really certain how we're going to reach there, we know that there's hundreds of ways to reach there. But I'm sure that me and my team will be figuring out the 101st or 102nd way, which is going to be the most innovative and the most effective route. Okay, thank you very much.